Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of The Routing Loop here live on Twitch and YouTube every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. UK time. I think this means 2 p.m. Eastern, if I got my time zones right. Thank you all for joining us. I already see some folks right here in the chat sharing that they're in. If you're in the chat, let us know. Let us know where you're joining from. I'm joined today by Ronak and Rishabh, and we're going to be talking about a thing that I'm not quite getting. So I'm going to ask them actually, bridging NetOps and CloudOps in Amazon VPC IPAM or with Amazon VPC IPAM and Infoblox. So this would be a very, very interesting session, I bet, and can't wait to talk through it. But before we go down that path, I already see folks in the chat. Hello, Ken. Good to see you. Good to see you, Erie Edits as well. Where are you folks joining us from? And how, most importantly, I would say, how's the weather like today? Because here in the Bay Area, it's actually snowed. I think everyone is freaking out. There's snows on the hills. It's the first time I've seen snow in the Bay Area, so that's really interesting. We have folks joining us from New York. It's cloudy. Thank God it's not snowing anymore, I guess. Folks from Canada joining us. Cool. Very nice. Snow here in Ontario. Nice. Love it. And in LA it's chilly. Ooh, that's interesting. I hope it gets warmer because I'm going to be running the LA Marathon on March 8th. So hopefully it's going to get a bit warmer. Poland here, no snow. Ronak, Rishabh, where are you folks joining us from today? Is it snowing there where you are?
I'm from Bay Area, so enjoying the same weather
cool.
as you are.
Nice. And Rishabh, you?
Same in the Bay Area. So I'm also, looking for a good change of pace, change of weather.
Nice. Well, is it the first time you folks are seeing snow in Bay Area, or you've seen it in the past?
I think once before I've seen it on the hills, several years ago, 6 or 7 perhaps. Yeah.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, first time for me.
Nice. So cool. Awesome. Well, as we're enjoying the snow and the chilly weather in Bay Area, why don't you folks go ahead and introduce yourselves first and foremost for everyone here who's joining us from all corners of the world. Ronak,
Cool.
do you want to start?
Yes, absolutely. Hey everyone, I'm Ronak Tabriwal. I'm a product manager in AWS. I work in the VPC team, and I've been here for a little over 3.5 years. And I'm really excited to be here today in this live stream to talk to you about exciting things we're doing on the IP management side of things.
Nice. Can't wait. I have a lot of questions, by the way. I'm sure everyone in the chat also has a lot of questions. But before we go there, Rishabh, go for it.
Hi, I'm Rishabh Parmar. I'm from Infoblox product management team. My focus is building integrations, building co-build products with hyperscalers. So this was one of my newest integration, and super excited to showcase what it does, what problems it solves, the challenges in the real world, and give you a high-level overview how things work.
Nice. That's really cool. And I'm very excited to have you on the stream. I think it's the first stream that I'm hosting external partners on our side. So really excited to have you here, and very, very happy that you joined. Now, the title of our session today is Bridging NetOps and CloudOps with Amazon VPC IPAM and Infoblox. What does that actually mean? What should everyone here know about as we're diving into this session?
Yeah, sure. So we've had IPAM tools, AWS IPAM for AWS and Infoblox, and customers have consistently told us, hey, I have these two tools, but they don't synchronize. They're not synchronized. Can you make them talk to each other? And that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. For everyone who's joined us in the chat, have you folks had this problem? Do you use IPAM? Do you use Infoblox? Do you use other third-party IPAM providers, and you would want this this kind of integration? Just let us know your thoughts. And yeah, let's dive right in. Right, Ronak? I think you're going to be starting us off, right?
Yes, yes. All right, cool. Let's dive right in. Okay, so before we go into the specifics of the integration and what value it is going to offer, let me take a bit of a time to really talk about what is IP address management. Some of you here from the network admin side of the house know this well. There's a bunch of IP address management tasks, but some of you who may be on the app development side may be like, hey, I always get an IP when I need to, so what's the management all about? So really there are three key things with IP address management. So think of AWS environment like an organization with hundreds and thousands of AWS accounts, each having multiple resources, tens or hundreds of resources. And all these resources need IP addresses to talk to each other. So we're talking about tens of thousands of IP addresses, if not hundreds of thousands. Now, somebody got to manage those IPs. And by manage, I mean, first is the planning. So the network admin really needs to carve out a large block, divide it into smaller blocks. And let's say there's a /16 carved out at top level for AWS, then admin would divide it into smaller blocks per region, for example, and then further divide those blocks for use case. Like in a region, there may be a /24, and then you again divide it into smaller blocks, say /28 for development workloads, another /28 cider block for production workloads, so on and so forth. So that's really the planning piece. And why that's important is because once you've divided your blocks, then you put these ranges into security groups and routing tables and set up routing and security. And you want a developer to get an IP address for the EC2 instance from the right range, from the development IP address range, so on and so forth. So that's IP address planning, which is a part of IP address management. Then second is really assignment.
Before we go further, two things that I have to say. First being, you only gave IPv4 examples, Ronak. You have to give IPv6 examples. You are in a session moderated by me, so that can't work. Works for IPv6 as well, right? That's what we want everyone to understand. And IP address planning in IPv6 is actually probably more important than in IPv4 because you want blocks to be nicely allocated and summarizable and so on. So this all works with IPv6 as well. That was point number one. Point number two, anyone in the chat who's doing this today, who is still using spreadsheets to do this? I've been in networking for like probably 17 years at this point, and I do remember the times when I was using this massive spreadsheet to allocate IP addresses from. Who's still using spreadsheet? Do you folks know, actually, Ronak and Rishabh, do you still talk to customers today who are using spreadsheets?
Spreadsheets, Confluence pages, whatnot.
Yeah. And,
nice.
And you won't believe the largest enterprises are also still using the spreadsheet model.
Spreadsheets.
There's problems getting really big for them.
Nice. Well, so Tech First here is still using Excel, but exploring IPAM, which is absolutely great. We think that it's much better to do things using an IPAM tool and using these kinds of integrations we're going to be talking about today. So for sure, follow us to the end. I'm sure you're going to find some good info. And do let us know if you have questions in the chat, folks. By the way, this session is for you to answer your questions. So let's get back to our what is IP address management? We've talked about planning.
Yeah. So cool. You brought it up, Alex, about IPv6. Yes, IPv6 is fully supported, and whatever, all the examples that we have here are for v4, but you could do the same with v6. Just that v4 is a little easy to kind of digest and understand. Okay.
I should have looked at the presentation before and be like, okay, let's do some IPv6 examples here. Joking.
Cool.
All good.
Cool. So besides planning, right, the other pillar is assignments. So when you create a VPC, you got to get a IP address block. When you create a subnet, then you get a smaller IP address block from the VPC's block. When you create EC2 instances, you get IPs from the subnet, and all this, when automated, just accelerates resources spin up and time to market. So that's another key part of IP address management, and IPAMs actually automate these workflows. And the third pillar is monitoring. When the network admin assigns an IP address range to a VPC, let's say, they want to track what is the usage. Is it reaching full capacity? Is the IP usage hitting 80%? Do we need to refill or add more IP address blocks to the VPC so that there is no failure on resource spin-up? Those are the kind of things that come under IP address management. And VPC IPAM and Infoblox Universal DDI provide these capabilities in a very easy to consume manner. So that's really IP address management, and IPAM tools really provide these capabilities out of the box.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I think we're convinced. We're convinced why we need a tool and not a spreadsheet.
correct. So you need a tool for a single environment, and then when you think of a hybrid cloud environment, it becomes a lot more challenging because now you have a NetOps persona who's dealing with mostly on-prem stuff, and then there's the CloudOps persona who's dealing with everything cloud. And IP address assignment needs to happen from NetOps to CloudOps and then to developers in the cloud. So it's a lot more complicated and cumbersome. And since these are different personas handling different tools, there's a lot of ticketing involved. The CloudOps cuts a ticket to NetOps team. NetOps then looks at the spreadsheet, finds the available IP address block, puts it in the ticket, then the CloudOps takes it from there, puts it in AWS, whatever, another spreadsheet or perhaps IPAM, and all that takes a lot of time, back and forth, friction. So that's one very big challenge that we've heard from customers. Second is, with two different tools, the visibility is completely fragmented. The NetOps doesn't know what kind of IPs are allocated in the cloud, whether there is any IP address allocated in the cloud which is overlapping with on-prem and could potentially cause issues in the future. So that visibility is not there because these are two separate tools. And like I said, there's a lot of ticketing and report generation. Like NetOps typically cuts a ticket to CloudOps, says, hey, give me a report of what are the IP address ranges being used, what is the utilization, and then the CloudOps responds to it. And there's a lot of time wasted in doing all of this. And these cause a lot of pain for our hybrid cloud customers, which is what we've solved in this integration.
Nice. Yeah, I can feel the pain. Been there.
Good. Okay, cool. So to the meat right here. So we launched this integration back in 2025 at reInvent. What the integration mainly does is you have Infoblox IPAM, where you have your top level IP address planning, wherein you have like a large block, let's say /8, which you've /8 IP address CIDR block, which you've broken down into multiple /16 blocks. You may allocate one for on-prem, another one for AWS, which is what you see here as federated block in the NetOps side of the house. And then you take that block and then you can assign it to AWS in an automated fashion. Then AWS CloudOps sees that IP address in IPAM automatically without any tickets. And then the AWS admin can really do further planning, which is dividing it into regions and then dividing it into use case for dev, prod, etc. So this integration does this automatically in the backend and also grabs IP address information from AWS and presents it in Infoblox IPAM to provide like a unified view. So what this does is, it's actually very, very, very clean and very neat, and it just reduces the IP assignment time from weeks, days to just minutes. And the NetOps is easily able to identify any overlapping IP addresses on the cloud in the cloud, and you get all the goodness of both the IPAMs.
Before we dive a bit deeper into how this integration works and see, I don't know if we'll see it in action or not, but we lost Rishab for a second. Rishab, all good? You're back with us?
Yeah, I got disconnected for some reason. Back.
Oh, good, perfect. That's awesome. And we also have a question, a bit of an off-topic ask or question here from Ken. But what about BGP ASN planning in addition to just IP address management? This is actually a really good question. Reason for it being IPAM does support bring your own ASN, right? So that's one. Infoblox,
Yes.
I think it also supports it, right?
Yes.
Is there
Yeah.
any exchange of information between these two systems for this integration that also ensures that ASNs are not overlapping?
No, the scope is currently limited to assigning IP address blocks from Infoblox to AWS.
Yeah.
But this is
Got it.
something we've not heard before and happy to explore.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
Ken, if you have more details into what would you want to see and how this would work, do let us know here in the chat. Ken is also one of our AWS heroes, so we can absolutely ensure that that your asks are sent forward for sure. Go ahead, Rishabh. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I'm good. I think you answered the questions.
Okay.
All good.
Okay, perfect. And there's also another question from Tech First. Does this integration work for multiple AWS organizations? I do know that IPAM supports multi-org in AWS, so I'm assuming that this kind of delegation works for multi-org too.
Yes. So the integration is at the IPAM scope level, and if you have a IPAM which is integrated with multiple orgs, the single scope takes care of it, and it just works.
Nice. Is everyone familiar with IPAM scopes and IPAM terminology? By the way, we're talking about these things here in on the stream, but if you folks are not familiar with them, let us know in the chat. We can share some links and some blogs and some documentation that you folks can go read through. Just as a small note from my side, just keep in mind that VPC IPAM comes by default with two scopes, the private scope and the public scope. Within the private scope, you get your RFC 1918 kind of addresses, your 10/80 or 172.16/12 and 192.168/16. And within the public scope, you get your public IPv4 addresses, your IPv6 addresses in the GUA space. So it comes by default with these two scopes. You can create additional scopes if you want to overlap IP addresses between environments or between enterprises, acquisitions, etc. Also supports multi-org integration. So yeah, we got you covered there.
Perfect. Yes, thanks for explaining the scope. So yeah, scope is like the top level container for IP addresses, and within scope you have pools, which are IP ranges. So your 10.00/16 could be a IP address pool, which is part of the scope, which is 0000/0 for private IPs.
Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. So we looked at what is IP address management. We looked at challenges in the hybrid cloud. We looked at what this integration offers. So let me just walk you through a couple of slides to really show you a breakdown of the IP ranges and what is the flow. And then later, Rishabh will actually show you mockups of VPC IPAM and Infoblox and walk you through step by step of how you set up the integration and how you do the assignments and how you get the visibility. So on the Infoblox side, you have universal IPAM, which is universal Infoblox universal DDI, and in Infoblox you have a top level IP address block, which may be 10.00/8, which you have divided into multiple /12 blocks. One is for on-prem, the other one is for AWS. So that's the top level planning that you've done in Infoblox. And then next is you have this 10.32.00/12 for AWS, and you want to assign a smaller block to begin with. So you carve out 10.32.00/16 for AWS, and then you provision it. And Rishabh will show you how. And when you do that, the IP address block flows into VPC IPAM, and the CloudOps admin, when he goes into IPAM, can really see the range that has been allocated for AWS. So there is no ticketing here, there is no email exchange here, nothing. It's just click provision from Infoblox to AWS. Once the IP address range shows up in IPAM, the CloudOps persona can actually do further planning, which is what we talked about earlier. So basically taking the /16 block, dividing it into smaller /20 blocks per region, and then further, dividing it based on use case, where you would probably put a /24 for dev resources, another /24 for prod resources, and so on. And once you have that level of planning done, then you can really create VPCs from the appropriate block in an automated fashion. So this first workflow really talks about how NetOps admin can provision space into AWS.
One super quick question there. You've described a very perfect world where everyone does at least IPv4 address assignments in this nice way where things are summarizable and whatnot. But there's a lot of brownfield deployments out there with IP space that's super fragmented. That's like, let's assume that I'm an enterprise right now and I have my universal IPAM and I have my VPC IPAM and AWS, but these two haven't talked to each other so far. When I do this integration, is there also a discovery mode? Are we going to talk about that in what follows? So am I jumping ahead?
No. A very appropriate question. So yeah, Rishabh, you want to take that?
Yeah. So you're spot on, Alex, here that when we connect the two environments, on-prem brownfield use cases with the cloud, VPCs on our IPAM side, the discovery engine runs and it discovers all the environments, all the IP assignments, subnets, blocks assignment on both sides. So once that is complete, we would clearly see the conflicts, what was happening before. And now NetOps and CloudOps can talk to each other and plan ahead, what to do with them. But you will get that visibility, what will not work when the environments. And this is a very good use case for merger and acquisitions. Like a lot of times our customers, when they go through such scenarios, this brownfield is very common use case when we are doing the integration.
Nice. Awesome. One other super cool question is I see here the IP space that gets essentially delegated from Infoblox goes into a top level pool. Let's say I don't have a contiguous /12, right? Let's say I've identified 2/14s that I can assign. They're not contiguous. Can I configure both of them in the same top level pool? Do I have to use separate top level pools in IPAM?
Yeah, so IPAM pool can provision multiple CIDR blocks. So you can very well do what you just said. In fact, even thinking beyond, right, what could happen is, let's say if you even have a contiguous /16, it still may get exhausted after a few years, right? Then you can still add another block to it later in time.
Cool. Awesome. That's great. I love it. I have to admit that I have not actually played with this integration. We've launched it at reInvent. We've talked a bit about it at reInvent in advanced VPC design. So I am actually really excited about it. I did not know anything about it before coming to the session in terms of like in-depth implementation. So I love the answers I'm getting to my questions. Now, I should not be the only one asking questions, folks. So if you folks have questions, please do put them in the chat. We're here to answer any and all of them. You folks are awfully silent today. So let's have questions.
Cool. All right. So this was a glimpse of how the assignment happens from Infoblox into AWS. The other workflow is where everything is set up in Infoblox, like the pool planning and stuff, the IP address planning, and instead of the NetOps persona picking up a block and assigning it to AWS, the AWS IPAM comes up and CloudOps just goes into the workflow and says, hey, I need a /16 because I want to, give it to my resources. And that request goes to Infoblox. Infoblox looks up the pool or the IP address space designated for AWS and, services that request and provides it back. So this just ensures a closed loop, that non-overlapping IP address space is assigned and prevents any kind of future outage that could happen. And when Infoblox assigns it, AWS gets the IP range, and then same planning and automation of assignments to VPC can happen. So again, it's IP addresses flowing from Infoblox to AWS. It can be a push based where Infoblox is pushing IP address into AWS, or it could be pull where AWS is pulling IP addresses. Another example could be that initially NetOps has allocated IPs to AWS. After some time, those IPs are, reaching the exhaustion limit. So AWS IPAM can just go and say, hey, I need another /16 block. That request goes, Infoblox gives it. And AWS admin, rests assured that it's non-overlapping and it's all good to go and everything. So that integration ensures that integrity.
Very cool. Very cool.
Cool. So with that, what we get is basically there's no manual workflows in terms of various admins cutting tickets to each other. So really, the turnaround time for allocations reduces from hours or weeks to literally 2 minutes. Secondly, there's guarantee that IP addresses getting allocated to AWS are non-overlapping because the top level planning is done in Infoblox, and all requests go through Infoblox to kind of validate. And third is the NetOps persona gets a unified view of the IP landscape for the hybrid cloud, and there is no need for the NetOps to cut a ticket to CloudOps to say, hey, generate a report of all your IPs and the usage, and as that is all automated through Infoblox. I think those are the main key benefits. Again, what we heard from customers was, hey, I have two environments, I have two tools, but they don't talk to each other, and it's a pain to synchronize information or do it offline. And that's exactly what we've addressed here.
Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. And last slide on my side. Yeah, go for it,
Before
Alex.
we go further, we have a really long question here on the side. Oh, actually, it's not a really long question. It's actually Ken clarifying what he was thinking about in terms of ASN numbers and management here. So thank you, Ken, for the detailed description here. We'll make sure to send over this information to Ronak and Rishabh after our stream, and we'd love to chat more about it. And one more question. By the way, there's no such thing as basic questions. All questions are good questions. Do we need AWS Marketplace image from Infoblox?
No.
So, no.
Rishabh, yeah, you can talk about the Infoblox.
So this integration is it's a SaaS product. It's on a SaaS platform called Universal DDI. Universal DDI is our product which does DNS, DHCP, and IPAM management right off from the SaaS profile. So you just need to subscribe and get started.
Cool. Awesome. So you don't have to get Infoblox through
You didn't
AWS
need to deploy.
Marketplace.
Yeah. No deployment, nothing.
Awesome.
Cool. And and again, this slide is just to show that it's not just us thinking about this. There was a survey by EMA, I think last year, and they surveyed close to 200 customers, and 94% said that, hey, we need integration between our IPAM tools. And every two out of three customers said that, hey, we don't need just integration, but we need control from one tool. And that's what we've delivered. So this kind of validated the path we embarked on and we delivered on, kind of, sealing the stamp kind of thing. So with that, I'll hand over to Rishabh to, walk you through the consoles and show you how to set up the, integration and how to do the IP address provisioning from Infoblox to AWS.
Before we get there, before we move to Rishabh's section, I do have actually one question. IPAM does manage addresses on AWS, right? So that's kind of the area for this integration. And Infoblox is essentially what continues to manage IP addresses for on-prem environment or other clouds. Got it. Cool stuff. Okay. Awesome. Rishabh, should I bring up your
Yes,
slides?
thank
It's
you.
awesome. We have a walkthrough. That is great. Okay.
Yes, this is a high level walkthrough of the integration. I have kept it very simple, easy to understand, that it's, it's very easy to basically configure, manage, and allocate. So first of all, Ronak, thank you for setting the stage till now, making everyone understand the challenges, the workflows, and it'll help me kind of walk through, and use your same context moving forward. So I think of this integration in three pieces, where first thing is discovering and what is there in the environments. So discovery is one piece. Second is synchronization or management. So this is where we want to connect the two environments, connect your NetOps and CloudOps teams together using this integration, to make their life easier. And then third is the allocation itself. So once your platforms are talking, you want to start allocating and making sure there are no conflicts, etc. So I'll get started. So
See
the
what this
first
does.
thing, yeah, the first thing is the prerequisites for this integration. It's not a major changes that are required on either the platform, but very basic things like you need to have an active Infoblox account. Of course, you need to create on our CSP portal, have an Infoblox account to get started, and with the admin permissions, because without admin you cannot really create any IPAM objects, create any policies, etc. So that's number one. Number two is AWS permissions. You need to have right level of permissions, admin permissions to manage the IPAM, and also we need to define certain roles, read and write access for discovery and as well as management. So we need permissions to input the right roles for the integrations, and all of these details about roles, what is needed is in our tech guide, where you can just copy paste the entire section, put it in the IAM console of AWS, and keep moving forward. So very basic requirements. The first thing is the discovery, to figure out, hey, what is there in the environments, what is there in on-prem, what is there on the cloud. So this is where we would set a discovery job for specific time duration, and once it is running, an admin will have the clear view of what are the conflicts, where the allocation is happening, where the optimization needs to happen. So this is the first step of the setting up discovery job, where the main requirement is entering the principal ID and role ARN of your AWS account. This information is present in your IAM screen, where you'll be setting where you're setting your roles. So you can just copy paste that, and here you would you will define your roles, you will set your sync intervals, and include what AWS services you want to exclude or include it as part of your discovery job. So here you can see I want to discover IP address management of IPAM scopes and pools that is available in AWS environment, and I can exclude. So very straightforward. So let this discovery job run for a specific amount of time. The default is auto, the sync interval, but you can choose 15 minutes up to 24 hours based on how frequently you want your environment is having changes, or you want you have certain services, containers or Kubernetes, that is requiring you to scan very frequently, so you can do that. So once your discovery is run, you have the information in front of you in terms of a page which is called network view. This is a view of all the IPAM objects that was discovered on particular environment that you had set up for discovery. It gives you exact allocation, utilization, usage, and the key thing is this is only a view only page where you can only see what's there in your realm. And let me tell you what is realm is. Like we have IPAM scopes as a top level pool in AWS. This is equivalent of scopes from AWS environment. So this is the top level hierarchy where all your IP spaces, pool, cider reside for all different environments. So if you have on-prem, if you have cloud, multi-cloud, and multiple organization, everything will be viewed in this page. So you will, and you can also see IP conflicts. So if there is IP conflicts on a certain block, it would be highlighted here. And then, teams can talk to each other to figure out what can be done next.
Nice. I think it's a question that will go through the minds of a lot of folks, because I do get it a lot. Is have you folks thought about getting tag support for all of these? Like, for example, getting tags propagated from VPC IPAM into Infoblox. From Infoblox, I don't know if you folks have the concept of tags, but get them propagated into AWS. Because a lot of things in the DevOps or Net DevOps or CloudOps world do reside on tag-based filtering and trying to understand who owns what and which environment is prefixes assigned to based on those tags.
Yes, that's a great question. And we are looking into the discovery side, the tagging for the discovery side. We already support tagging on the management side of things. So anything that we tag on AWS would be imported as is. So we're looking into the same there. Yeah.
Okay. That's so great. Okay, so those tags already get propagated.
Yes. So this is the network view, that will tell you that what is there in your environment and what's conflicting. And one thing to notice is that all these are read only. So if you see this pencil and a cross, you cannot do anything to it. And if we want to manage or allocate anything to AWS from this particular scope, or push something from AWS into this pool, we need to make it read and write. And that's exactly what we want to do that in the next steps. So this is an address space. So I talked about network view. This is the address space where we can drill into particular scopes to figure out what resides inside the scope. What's inside a realm or a scope in AWS term? What are different things? So here, this is the place where you would select a particular scope and start editing. But first, most important, we need permissions. So this integration makes sure that, first of all, there's a control. There is strict control between NetOps and CloudOps. So NetOps needs to get particular permissions for managing a particular scope. So by mistake, they don't, create IP ranges or start managing incorrect scopes. So there is a total control between both sides. So we know that this thing is what both teams need to work on. So this is the management side where we would start getting the permissions. So we would go to AWS console and in your VPC IP address manager, and you will see a list of different scopes, that is there present in your environment. You would select a particular scope that you want Infoblox to get permissions for. So here you would add your descriptions or whatever you want to add. And this is a new section that was added called Infoblox IPAM as a scope authority. Now, when you click it, it will ask for Infoblox ID and the permissions. So you can go to IAM, copy paste the permissions that we have already listed in our technical guide, put it here, and save it. And Infoblox ID is available in particular scope view when you go to Infoblox page. So Infoblox, when you right click on particular scope, you will get a scope ID. You can copy paste here. Nice. So this makes sure that we are just working on the right scope and nothing else.
Yeah, make sure you align those. And I am assuming that this also supports like not just UI kind of walkthrough, but also like CLI SDK.
Yes. Yes.
automation tools. I don't know if it's integrated with Terraform. I think a lot of the folks who are watching us are using Terraform or CloudFormation. So I'm assuming this is supported.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome.
This is the UI portion, but we have CLI SDKs, Terraform to support this automation. So this is what we'll do it when we save changes here. You will get the same information in your view that this was a private scope and the modification is complete and it's ready for action on the Infoblox side. So when we go back to Infoblox page where this particular scope was requested for the management, you see the cross has gone away, and now you can see edit and add pull options that was not previously visible. So here you can see the same information that we were seeing on an AWS side, which tells you about the scope, the parent IPAM it was connected to. If you have multiple IPAMs on the AWS side, it would link you to the exact IPAM and the scope that we are supposed to be managing. So next is the provisioning part. Yeah.
Before we go there, does anyone have any questions? This seems like super straightforward. I actually don't have questions about this integration so far. It seems like it's flowing very nicely. Do let us know, folks in the chat, if you have questions. Would love to answer them. Okay, so let's see what else we have.
So once we have the management permissions right and ready to allocate, so this is the workflow where we would provision an IP from Infoblox to AWS, and I'll do the reverse on another one. So here we create. So first of all, how would we know that a particular realm and a particular pool from which we have to create an IP or allocate an IP to AWS? This is the exact step that would define it. So in this, we first of all, when we add pool, we allocate the IP address family. IPv4 is listed, but it does IPv6. So it's IPv6 option is listed here. You would add your region where you want this to be instantiated, and then just a description. And here's the tagging support that we were talking about. You can add tags right here on Infoblox side and same on the AWS side as well, and both will get populated. And you can add your net mask if that's a compliance requirement on your side. So you would add details here. And this is where you would tell that here on a destination, what is your destination realm where this pool needs to be picked up, and what is your pool source pool block. You can define it. By default, whenever we create a realm on Infoblox side, there's always a default realm and a default pool from which the IPs would be allocated, but we can change based on our requirement.
Great question, more curiosity level in terms of terminology. Is it fair to say that the realm on the Infoblox side is kind of analogous to the scope in IPAM?
Yes, exactly. IPAM scopes and realms are the top level pool, top level on the hierarchy.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay.
So then we save changes, and this then we allocate, the IP gets allocated, and you can check that on the AWS side. Now on the reverse side, we go to our AWS console. You select the particular scope from which we want we want to request the IP from. We will select the hierarchy, IPAM scope. And if you have multiple IPAMs, this is an option that you can select particular IPAM within the AWS to kind of direct your IP assignment from. You will select your IP address family, and there's a region option, and also selecting a subnet and particular IP. This screen is truncated because of the limitation on what we can put here, but you can allocate particular IP block, and even a subnet. So if there's a conflict, when we do a save changes here, and if there's a conflict, you will not get allocation. You'll get a message here, right?
Nice. Love it.
And when we go back to Infoblox side, in previous step, if we have allocated /20, a new IP would be seen here in the realm of our choice that we had selected. So pretty straightforward.
Nice.
You just discover, then you assign your permissions, and then you do allocations and just define source and destination.
Very cool. Very cool. We have a question from Ken. When it comes to IP ranges, I'm assuming public and private are supported. Besides IPv6, we already clarified that. Are supported for IPv4. What about CGNAT IP space? From like 100.64 IP space. I don't think that'd be an issue, right?
Yeah, they will be supported. Yeah.
Cool. IPAM supports it for sure. Infoblox, I'm sure it supports it. So it's there's no challenge there. One question on my side. So once this CIDR gets allocated, well, using whatever one of the options, so from the Infoblox side or from the IPAM side. In IPAM, let's say you start creating VPCs and you allocate that, and you start consuming IP space. The utilization is going to also be propagated into Infoblox.
That's something. That's something we've thought about. We've actually thought about a feature for auto refill, so Infoblox can actually track the top level usage, and when it hits a configured threshold, and it auto provisions another block. So that's something we've thought about, not implemented yet, but yeah.
Got it. That's awesome. Well, for everyone who's watching us, it's a really good opportunity for folks for you to share what you would want to see from this integration, what features you feel you would love to have that would make your life easier in terms of IP management at the enterprise level. So yeah, let us know in the chat. This is the perfect opportunity for you to make your voice heard. So make sure you take up on it. Awesome.
Yeah.
I see we have quite a few resources here. We've put them in the chat as well. So for those of you folks who are watching us or watching us on demand after the session finishes, you'll be able to get these. I think we should have had like a QR code kind of scanning thing, because it will be tough to paste all of these. But I mean, I guess you could do some image recognition thing. You can use your favorite chat AI and feed in the screenshot of this and ask it to give you the links. I think that should work actually.
That's a good idea.
Nice. Let's see, one more question here from Ken. What about alerting when IP ranges are almost finished?
Yes, so we do start alerting when you can set a specific threshold that 80%, 90%, and then you get automatic alert. This particular allocated block is out of capacity or something like that.
Nice. That's awesome. And you can do that on the IPAM side, right, too, with like events. I think IPAM supports setting up alarms on pool utilization.
Pool utilization, VPC utilization, bunch of metrics and alarms.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Nice. We have a few minutes left, so I would say, please, folks, do let us know your questions in the chat. What I'm most curious about is, now that we've had this Twitch stream and more customers are going to find out about this integration, I'm going to have to talk to them about it as part of my role. What are the things that you folks see customers asking you most commonly? Like, what are like top 3-5 questions?
Rishabh, you want to go first?
Yeah, so Universal DDI, a platform that we have recently went through some UX changes. So a lot of our customers have been asking about the network view versus address view. What are the two views for? So network view is clearly a hierarchical view of your IP spaces, realms, and also IPAMs of different environments in one view. the goal is that you have the exact unified view of all your IPAMs and see the conflicts in real time. And address space is where you would actually do management. You would actually assign pools for integration, uh, etc. So one is more like a view mode, and one is more like an action view. So just for a difference. One more question that is very frequently asked is regarding discovery. Can it be turned off? And also on the sync internal. So currently there is no option to turn off because the goal is that we need to figure out what's there in the environment. So even on on-prem or cloud, we need to have some sort of discovery to figure out what resides, what's the ranges in your environment to figure out uh, information and resolve conflicts. So it cannot be turned off, but you can play around with duration, what works best for you.
I actually have one more question that I just thought about before you go ahead, Ronak. Is there a cost for this integration?
So I can take that. So you have some costs associated with Infoblox. You have some costs associated with IPAM.
Yeah.
If you have both enabled, there's no additional cost. I mean, you just need to have both the
Got it.
tools and then it works. So you don't
Okay,
need to pay
perfect.
additional to, leverage this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It makes sense.
Cool. And yeah, to answer your question, Alex, I think mostly when we talk to customers, right, they really like that we've addressed the main challenge with this integration. There are a few convenience things that they kind of ask for. One is the auto refill and auto provision kind of capability, which we briefly talked about, and the other one is AWS IPAM ingesting IPs from Infoblox. So the integration that we've seen here is all Infoblox ingesting IPs from AWS IPAM, right? What customers also ask for is the ability to ingest in the other direction and then kind of integrate with prefix lists and automate some of the workflows
Yep.
there. So that's something that comes up in customer conversations, and I feel that that's a very interesting opportunity to do a lot more, right? When it comes with prefix list, you have
Yeah.
more tentacles with AWS networking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. That's awesome. I was actually getting ready to ask you what is the top feature ask, but I think I will plus one this one you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Because they're so like with automated prefix lists, or IPAM can automatically push CIDRs into prefix lists, and then you can reference those prefix lists in route tables or in security groups, or like in Cloud WAN, Transit Gateway, etc. That would make management so much easier. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. One more question, Alex, that now because of the AI and agentic world coming into the
For sure.
real
Wait,
world.
before you go there, we lasted 53 minutes without mentioning the word AI. So I'm very proud of us. Congratulations, team. now let's talk about it. Yes.
Yeah, so that's one of the frequently asked question that how would you support agents, and how would IP addressing change when in the agentic world. So very one so something that we are looking into and exploring, and obviously with AWS trying to look into as agent core was released recently, and how the adoption and how do we jointly cater to those
That's
use
awesome.
cases.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be a really nice tool from a security perspective too. So security folks would be great. So that's something the folks are looking into. Not something that's supported today. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
And there's another question here from Ken. Might have missed it, but what DNS records updating with IP allocation changing a new IP record in DNS? Let me translate that question. I think what you're asking, Ken, is if DNS records are also updated with IP address updates in universal DDI in IPAM, I'm assuming.
Yes. So all of universal DDI complements all the DNS and DHCP workflows. So even in discovery, there are different options about DNS zones and our forwarding zones, etc. the IP allocations are accordingly. So all of these are tightly aligned. So any changes that happen on the DNS side automatically propagates in the same environment. So
Nice.
it's pretty closely tied in, and then with AWS, you get that view of what's on-prem versus what's there on AWS side.
That's awesome. You folks can also play with it. There's a hands-on lab here that you folks helped put together. I think this is great. Like, go and have a look and play with this integration. Just clarification from Ken, so it can integrate with Route 53. I don't think that that's the case, though.
IPAM integration with Route 53, not yet.
No. Cool stuff. Okay. I think there's a lot to watch in this space and to look forward to. Would love for us to meet again and have these conversations around what you folks have enhanced this integration with in some months' time. So looking forward to having you back on the street. That's it. I think we're at the end of our stream. If you folks have more questions, please let us know. Reach out. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can find Rishabh, Ronak, myself, the entire Routing Loop team on LinkedIn. So reach out to us, and we'll be happy to have additional conversations on this. That being said, one more Routing Loop session finished. See you next week. Same time, same day of the week with a new session. And until then, have an awesome rest of the day, weekend, Friday. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.